All right. All righty. Hey. Here we go. It's the April the 6th, 2022, episode 1 of Elevator Talk. And so today we are going to introduce ourselves. I'm Myron Fletcher. We have Clarence Black and we have Steven. And I think is your screen lined up like that too? Is it Steven, Clarence, and myself, or is it flip?
Mine's on my left, Steven's on my right.
Okay. So I don't know if it's recorded based on my screen or what. But anywho, it's all three of us. I'll pass the ball to one of you to let you introduce yourselves to the audience.
Awesome. You go ahead, Skibo.
Hey, I'm Steven Garner. Are we doing full introduction or what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who are you? Where you from? What you do? What's going on in life? Testimony.
So I'm Steven Garner. I am currently living in Germany. Born in Kentucky, grew up in Little Rock, Arkansas. Met these two brothers here, and my life was changed around that same time. But yeah, I've currently and consistently been doing like mission work the past years and traveling the world, and that's what kind of landed me in Germany. Here with my family, my lovely wife and 3 kids, and God only knows what's the future holding. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Steven.
Awesome. Well, Clarence, let me see. I was born in Indiana, considered Little Rock home. Let me see. Man of family, man of faith and tradition. Right now I'm currently married, got 2 kiddos. Right now I live in Colorado Springs, Colorado, active duty military, Air Force. And it's been a great journey, been a great, great transition. Of course, back in high school, met these 2 brothers here. And ever since then, God's been moving in each of our lives. And I'm grateful. So to see that where we've been, as we talk about later on, as we kind of keep doing these podcasts, we talk about where we started, how we all individually all got met up, and then where we are now. So I'm excited.
Awesome. And then Myron Fletcher, born in Little Rock, raised in Little Rock. Shouldn't have made it out of Little Rock, but I did. I live in Hawaii now with my family and my 2 kids, one on the way. It's a lot of exciting things going on. I'm an engineer by trade, so I do a bunch of cool different engineering things. So that's a little bit about me. And so, but Elevator Talk, the purpose is for us to inspire and to elevate people all across the world in their daily walks with Christ, in their daily walks with their families. We're all 3 fathers. We're all 3 from the same, area, so we can relate to a lot of different things. And then we're geographically separated by hundreds of thousands of miles. Literally, it's like we're all over the world. Steven is literally 12 hours ahead of me. Clarence is 7 hours behind Steven, 5 hours ahead of me. I mean, it's just crazy the geographical locations that we are. And there's not 100,000 miles. You can go to the moon in 200,000 miles. So don't quote me on that. But you're gonna be technical. I know someone's like, he's an engineer, he should know how many miles it is to get to Germany. I don't. But yeah, so that's a little bit about what Elevator Talk is. And so today I'm just gonna kick off the question. What's on you guys' mind? What's on your heart? What do you guys want to kind of chat about today?
Let's talk about, I think fatherhood.
Okay.
I think that's something that I don't like to keep going racial, but just simply as a society, I think that the label and the background, the context, the power behind fatherhood, I think it's kind of sometimes either not talked about enough. I think it's kind of been shunned a little bit, and maybe even kind of starting to be more, I want to say demoralized, but it's kind of becoming more like an attack on fatherhood and the power of it. So that's just my thought. What you guys think?
So I'll kick this one off, Steven, if that's fine with you.
Sorry?
I said I'll kick it off on fatherhood, if that's fine with you.
Sure.
Okay. So fatherhood, man, is it's hard not to play the race card when you talk about fatherhood. And then when you look at the relationship that we had in Little Rock, I can count on my hand how many of my friends had a father. And just because a man was in the house didn't mean that he was a father. And so I think a lot of people get construed that, it's a man in the house, so he has a father. And it's like, that's not the case. Because I have so many friends who would call my dad their real father even though he didn't give birth to them.
Yep.
So it's a lot of misconception on what fatherhood is, and I love it's a saying that says any man with a tool can reproduce, but only a real man can be a father. And I think a lot of people think that just because they have the ability to reproduce, they're automatically a father, and that's not what constitutes a father. That's just a man.
Yeah.
any man can reproduce, and so I think we got to start there first. Is what is a father? What classifies a father? What constitutes a man being a father? So let's start there, and then we can talk about the issues of why there are so many issues with, or why there's attacks on fathers. So what constitutes a father, Stephen?
What constitutes a father? Okay. Right there.
Fastball, go.
Oh man, what constitutes a father? Well, I mean, first thing that naturally comes to mind is like, we call God a father. So in some sense, there should be an example there or some characteristics that we can look at to see what is a father and what is the role of a father and what does he do. And when I think about like, what is a father? Let me. I think I'm getting too big. Let me get a little a little bit more narrow. What is a father? So I mean, as I grew up understanding, or maybe I say how I was taught, instructed, a father is definitely someone who is providing for the family, but also someone who is giving instruction and guidance about what is right and wrong to do. But not only that, it is someone that should be in some sense pushing the children to be able to do more and to pursue things in this life and to, I don't know if achieve is the right word, but yeah, to achieve and to have a direction to go in. And so a father is someone that also kind of spurs on, but also is encouraging and uplifting, that helping to go forward into the direction they need to go. And so in another sense, a father should have a vision, a clear vision of what it means to even be a human, to be healthy and to be natural as a human being. You yourself, as a father, you must have a clear vision of this in order to basically steer people to go in that direction. But yeah, that's why I would explain it as in a short version.
That's good.
I mean, you hit on a lot of things that I always talk about with just being a man in marriage, right? A lot of guys like, I want to be married, and I'm like, why do you want to be married? Well, that's just the right thing to do, and I'm like, no, that is not the right thing to do. It's better to not be married, because when you become married, it's a lot of things that, and when I say it's better, and I'm speaking biblically terms here, not that it's not. Trust me, I love my marriage. I'm happy about marriage. I'm not saying I don't want to be married, but biblically speaking, it's better because you can focus 100% on God, right? And you have that 100% direction. When you have a family, it's God is still number one, but there's wife, there's kids, there's X, Y, and Z. There's outside family members. There's this, there's that, and it's a lot of other things that come into play. But you hit on something key. A father, or is that vision, having the ability to see beyond the 2-year-old child, the 3-year-old child. This child is going to be a grown man one day. This woman is going to be a grown woman one day. How are you going to cultivate them to where they can operate and live on their own being, in their own self, versus clouding them and covering them and saying, no, you're my child, and you got to stay my child forever? Because we all know that they will leave us one day. And they will depart and go their own ways. And so what can we do? What is the vision that we have for our children to put in them now, the things they need that are essential, that are going to stick with them even when they're outside of our homes? And I think that's what makes a father, is somebody who can have that deep dwelling where they're able to touch you. Even at 30 years old, if my dad was gone, I would still have things inside of me that he instilled within me when I was 15, right? And so, that wasn't just a role model. That was a father. He was able to tingle things. And even to this day, when I do certain things, I'm like, oh, my dad would tell me I got to do blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I think that's another part. But Clarence, you want to add any more to that about father?
Man, I don't know. I think you guys both hit on the head. I think once again, that word father, even the question itself, trying to define something, I believe in the quote that says, to achieve something, you have to define it. I think that when you try to define fatherhood, I think everybody's backgrounds, how they came up, what they consider as valuable. They're all going to have their own little spin on it. But just based on our essence of what we kind of talked about this morning, I think it's once again, it's that presence, right? It's a figure that steps into whatever situation, right? You can even be a stepfather, for example, but you can still carry that role of a father. You can still impart that wisdom. You can still, instill values, and you can show them how to be. Like, even though they may have had a bad example, or maybe they had just bad cards dealt in life, it doesn't mean that they can't grow to be somebody, important, or be useful, or be valuable, or see themselves as being valuable. So I think that any figure, especially a male figure that's in that home, is being able to understand, one, who he is, and they understand how important the relationship is with God is. But more importantly, he can also just instill values to his children, because it's not about the now, right? It's not about, oh, my kid acting out crazy right now and acting foolish. No, it's about, what am I imparting to them today, so that when they get old enough, it's like, man, I look back and now I think about, man, I helped to bring that life to that child. I helped to bring, just to bring that, I don't know, a great example to be set, I guess. So I think you guys hit it on the head pretty well. So
yeah, and at the end of the day, we have the ultimate example in the Bible, and it's God, right? He is the ultimate Father. He's the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. And so we have an example, and so it's up to us to emulate and replicate what we see, read, and understand. And so the issue that you mentioned is the attack on the fathers. And so when you begin to understand the importance of the father, you begin to understand why there's attacks on the father, because the structure cannot do what it's supposed to do without the father in place. And we all know all too well, fathers are it's the cornerstone. It's the cornerstone of the building. And without it, it doesn't stand, right? And so the attack is there. Steven, like, you want to say something? Go ahead. I can see it.
Yeah, so I think going back to the point of having a vision for what a human is supposed to be like, I think it's tied very well into the understanding. And as we said it a couple of times now, like, understanding who God is. Like, if he is being identified as a father, and he has created human beings, there are a lot of people that's in philosophy, or they learn as they go to university, or whatever they're learning, they start to think that maybe God just kind of created something and he just left it. Like, he just, it was a whim, just like, I'm just going to make something and then see what happens. Kind of reckless way of thinking. But that is actually maybe how some people handle family and fatherhood, and actually how they start families, sometimes even just by accident. So when you're thinking backwards, you're trying to reverse engineer what God is like through maybe your experience. You may start to think God is also like this, but a good father, he has a plan when he starts his family. And it's not to say that if you didn't have a plan when you started, that you cannot come up with a plan as it's already going along. But I think just going back to the whole point of having a vision of what a human is supposed to be, I think it's very, very critical to understand that God must have had a clear vision about what we would be like. And that is even why, he has so much interactions with humans throughout history, and he continues to pull people to do things in his way, to do that what we call as righteous, or to do things that are good, because he himself is good. But yeah, I think I just really want to bring that point in, especially, some people, especially nowadays, many people are not sure what God might be like. And so when you say he's a father, well, what is a father? What was my daddy? And I never met my biological father. So with that case, I can go anywhere I want with my imagination. But to understand that there is a father, he created us, and he actually shows himself what he is like, that is really important for us to really hold on to understand. And so I just really wanted to drop that in there. I didn't want to. So that was it. Go ahead.
No, so you hit on something else too, right? We just talked about the importance of a father being there, but as we just talked about, you were raised without your actual birth father. So how can you just elaborate there on how it was as a man now, knowing that your father wasn't there, but you had another man who had no ties to you whatsoever step in and play the role of a father? How was that? And did that affect you growing up as a youth?
Yeah, I think So it's very interesting. My parents told me this. So I was adopted into a completely new family. So even without my mother, I didn't have that experience. But I think for me, I never felt, because I had this family that cared for me and a father that also was looking after me, I never felt the lack, or maybe I didn't know the difference. I didn't feel any absence in my life. Maybe when I was older, I started to recognize maybe some differences in our personality or the way that we handle things, but still the training and the values that built me up to be the man that I am.
Mm-hmm.
And also later meeting my parents, my biological parent, well, actually I still didn't meet my father, but meeting my mother and hearing at least something about my father, I have no idea what I could have ended up like. But I'm sure that the father I had, who really cared and he really trained me to do what is right. He trained me to be a righteous man.
Mm.
And he gave me a lot of freedom. Actually, I was sometimes surprised how much freedom he gave me, but because I took the training, he literally, he like kind of let me just go. Even when it came to traveling halfway across the world, he's like, he was fine. Even if my whole family was fighting, he was fine because he entrusted that what he put in me, it would keep me. And it has. And so I think it's very invaluable that even though he wasn't my biological father, even though he actually had no physical children, I was his son. And I'm junior, you know, and it's a privilege actually. As I was growing up, I didn't recognize that privilege, but now that I'm an adult and I'm a father as well, I have my own children, I really am honored that I'm able to take on that role and to try and imitate and even to advance further what my father has already begun in me. So physical, biological or not, it's right. The presence of a father is very important in our lives. At least let me say for my life, it has been of utmost importance. And yeah, and there comes a point even as a father where I ask myself, what is my role as a father? And then I have to go back to those those fundamental things, you know. So yeah, for me, it has been everything.
Awesome, awesome. And yeah, you hit on the nail with, a father was a man, even though he had a tool, he didn't reproduce, but still, even in not having a biological son, he took in a man and raised him as his own son. And now those principles still live within him. So that's another side of the coin that we didn't talk about earlier. Is a man not even reproducing can still be a father. So awesome, awesome, awesome. And then Clarence, your story is a little different as well. You raised with a stepfather. So you want to elaborate there?
I mean, I can, without getting too deep in the details. I mean, like I said, a different experience, but as I look back now, I think that I had to go through a lot of things to see the growth and to see the reason why I kind of went through those things. I'm kind of one that believes that we kind of go through things for a reason, whether it's to learn something, to adjust something, do whatever. I think it's something for our benefit, whether it be something good, bad, or ugly. And so for my situation, when it comes to my family and everything, the stepfather, even though he was there, as Myron, you stated earlier, it was still a form of absence. Even though the person had tried to fill a position or a role, the very things he needed to be as a father, right? To instill those godly values, to instill principles, to build vision, to have those things, I really thought that was lacking. And so as I've been and grew up as an older man, grew up into a man and began to have my own family, I felt in the beginning I was lacking those things. So I kind of felt like and made excuses like, hey, I shouldn't, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to be a father. I don't know how to be a good dad to my kids because I never had that example. I never had, a father in my life to show me the ways, to show me the ropes, or to show me the right way to do it, so to speak. But in the end, that wasn't an excuse, right? It's not an excuse because I had a different outcome or a different upbringing I guess, to make the role or the position not less, to make it less important or much or less, I don't know, impactful. So it took some responsibility for me to understand that, hey, even though my stepfather didn't provide those skills, teach me those things, it was still upon me as a father of my own children to actually begin to learn how to do those things. And that example was Christ. Like I literally had to pray to God, say, Lord, I don't know what I am doing. And it took some nights, like some stressful days and prayers, like, Father, I'm stressed. I don't know how to discipline like the proper way, not yelling at them, not snapping on them, but it's like, hey, how do I have patience with them, with my children? How do I continue to show them love and forgiveness and grace and mercy as our Father showed for us? And that's hard. Like when you begin to pray and ask God to help you to do something you don't know, it is like completely new territory. And so, like I said, I welcome the struggles that I had growing up, because now, as I begin to teach my kids each one of those things I didn't have, I begin to see the value and the importance of it now. So,
Yep. Yep. And just a heads up, if you hear kids in the background, we are active fathers. So
yeah,
that is
On duty
perfectly
fathers.
yeah, we're new fathers too, right? So I mean, I think our oldest child is 3, 4. No. Paisley's how old is?
they just turned 6.
6.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Yeah, she just turned 6. Wow. Yes. So 6 years in this thing. But you hit on so many good things, Clarence. And I know Clarence had to step away for a second. He hit on a bunch. And one thing that I applaud him for is, a lot of men who grew up in those situations would say, well, my father wasn't there, so I don't have to be there for my kids. And it's like, dang, it's like, come on, you really want to repeat the thing that happened to you. You're willing to accept to say, because your dad wasn't there, you can do the same thing, and who cares? And it's like, come on, man. But Clarence is like, look, I'm trying this thing out. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to fight it out. I'm going to be the father that God has called me to be. And so I applaud that in you, Clarence. That means a lot. Stephen, did you want to hit on anything that Clarence talked about?
Yeah, I think it's really important because especially oftentimes when we reflect back to our childhood, it's like once we get to a certain age of like when we're at school and we actually see our parents less, or we're also at home less, it begins sometimes to feel like, at least let me speak from my experience. I don't need to, I just talk from my own experience. So there actually was a time when I started school, my father started driving trucks like cross country, and he was gone. Like he was only home like 4 or 5 days a month, and that was a difficult time. Before that time, my dad would take me everywhere. We would go to places, we go to museums, we go to the park on weekends, we go get, donuts, Krispy Kreme, whatever, every Saturday morning. And
Awesome.
I had so many good memories up until 5 years old. But suddenly it was like a certain time and phase of life changed, and he wasn't around anymore. But I think also I just want to share, like, I speak so positively of my father. My father has recently passed within the last year or two. And that's why I think I've kind of summed up the whole of my experience with my father. It's easier for me to do because I had to in order to move on with life. But when I weigh out the good and bad, I can sum it up to say that what my father gave me, even though there were some years in my life he was physically not present because he was working, he had to provide. My father didn't have an education. And so he did whatever he could to be able to keep us in a house that was warm and that we had food on the table. So I respect and admire that. But sometimes it hurt that he wasn't there with me my whole life. But one thing I valued, that every time he did get to just sit down with me, as a kid, it kind of annoyed me. But now, once again, standing on it, every time my father wanted to sit down with me, he wanted to read the word of God. He wanted to read the Bible, or he wanted to teach me some principle, or he wanted me to even learn about other religions and what they believe so that I can understand clearly my own values and why I believe what I believe. So like my father gave me this kind of spiritual training, and the very few moments that we had, he just took that and put that in the front of it. And at the time, I was just like, why can't we just go, to the park and get some donuts again? But as I'm 16 years old, I don't really need that. That wasn't what I needed, to go on with my life. But he saw what was most valuable, and he took advantage of that, and he put that before me every single time, no matter my reaction, no matter how hard-headed I was, or no matter how I would hide, myself and make myself look completely disinterested. And maybe I felt like I wasn't interested. But I would say that I really want to share that and put that out there. It's like, not that I had the most amazing, great father. He was always perfect every time, but like he was hardly there. But even his reason for hardly being there, it was in our interest. But when he was there, he gave me the word of God. And that's really what I carry with me from my father. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Yeah, you hit on a bunch of stuff, man. And it's, and for me personally, it takes me to my father, right? My biological father was my actual father who was there. My mom passed when I was, young. And so he tried to play the role of mom and dad. That was a tough role to play when I was a teenager, as bad as I was. But yeah, he put a lot out there. But it's interesting. You talked about that there was a point in my dad's career, I remember, where he was working at a particular company, and they were like, look, we're getting ready to go. You got to move your family, or we're going to have to let you go. And I remember my dad, like, I don't know if he knows I remember this, but I remember the conversations of him and my mom having, like, baby, got to find something else to do. I remember it was months where he searched for a job just because he didn't want to cause the family to resolve around a particular position. And I remember he was looking in, I remember specifically truck driving jobs coming up. And I remember him saying, no, I can't take it because I need to be there for my boys. And like, when I think about that now, it reflects to me as an engineer. I have all these opportunities to go across the world and do all these different assignments, but I'm like, I really can't do that because of my boys. And it resonates. My dad did the same thing, right? He didn't take the money or the job. He said, look, I'm gonna figure out a way to provide for my family in the current situation we are, versus, branching out. And so I applaud him for that. But at the same time, there are some people, that's what they have to do. It is not that they're trying to run away from their families. It's just in their minds. It's like, look, I can do this thing and we're going to make it work with this thing, And so, I mean, it works vice versa, right? Or either way, right? So whatever works best for the family is what works. So, but yeah, my dad definitely, I remember as a kid, him, like, he literally had, I mean, it was a high paying job. And he left all of that to become a janitor, which to me is like, when you think about the essence of, you go drop all of this money to go clean kids' pee off the toilets. And like, I mean, like, this is like, it was elementary school at the time. So just imagine, like, elementary school kids, you know how they pee all over the place. You're a kid, like, pee all over the place and throw up all over the place and trash all over the place. Yeah. I mean, it's a bunch of stuff all over the place, but he took that job on just so he could say, look, I'm with my boys. He never missed a practice, never missed a game, the dude was just faithful, man. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, then I used to always hear my friends like, man, I wish my dad would show up, and I wish blah, blah, blah. And then that's when they start saying, well, Mr. Fletcher, he's my dad there, like, yeah, that's my dad. It's like, okay, all right, that's what you want. You got him. Come on, let's go. So yeah. But so now the question was, why there's an attack on fatherhood. And so in my personal opinion, if you can remove the father from the family, you can feed that family whatever news you want to feed them. And they have no guidance, they have no direction, and they will gobble it up. And that's what the children will want to be. They will want to be what media says they should be. They want to be what social media says they should be. They want to be the TikTok person. They want to be the famous OnlyFans person. They want to be all of this stuff that a real father would say, look, no, baby girl, you're worth more than that. Baby boy. Nah, like, playing football and basketball is cute, but the percentage of you getting in is nil to none. Sorry, son. Like, let's not put all our hopes in the NFL basket. Right. But if you don't have a father there to say that, mom is, oh, heck yeah, my baby, he gonna make it. Oh yeah. I'm not saying anything against the Bugs, but I see it so much on my timeline where everybody's pushing these kids to go in these career paths where really, like, I can count on my hand how many guys I know who made it to the NFL, and when they do make it, it's only for a few years, but they don't, and these are all people without fathers, like actual father figures. They got men who gave birth to them, but they don't have a father figure. And it becomes a process to where it becomes generational, to where everybody's just doing the best they can do. And in reality, that's not the case. And the reason it is because the father is not in the play. And when the father's not in play, we're doing the best we can do, but it's always a but. Why did he end it this way? I didn't know about the teacher. I'm not a man. Like, the mama, and mamas will tell you at a certain age, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. He's 18 years old. What am I supposed to do with him? I don't know. I what to do when he was 3 or 4, but he's 18 now. He's big enough to beat me up. I literally had a mom tell me that the other day. I was like, "What? Your son gonna beat you up?" I said, "Give him 5 minutes with me." I had to
call me.
Yeah, I know a couple of guys. I know a couple of dudes. Literally, when they turned 18, mom put them out the house and they slept in the park for some days until they found a place to crash. Like because it was just him and his mom. And dude was like 6'4", like a good 250. He was a big dude. He was a hooper. It was like, sorry. Yeah, that's reality.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, I think you guys hit on so many good points. I think this can be a conversation for a long time, because I think it's an ever-changing, constantly growing subject, but also just something that's very, very true to home. Like I said, for all of us having different examples of a father, we always able to kind of pitch in and see how important a fatherly role was to our lifestyle, either where, we had a father that gave us godly values, or even having a father that made some bad choices, but all of it, all in all, a father is so vital to the health of a family, of a child's upbringing, and everything important. And like I said, this is not to say, as I think we already gave our disclaimers, it's not to say that for families who don't have a father, it's not saying that, oh, well, life is it. That's just it. You don't have a father in your house. That's all you can do now is do the best you can. No, it's just figure out, okay, hey, where are we at? And then be like, hey, what can we do? Like, what are the things that I don't know and understand? And like I said, if there's any moms watching this, or even single parent, single mothers watching this, it's like, yo, like, what kind of men do you have in your life that can be good examples to your sons or to your children? Not so much. I'm not saying go out there and seek for relationships and getting married and getting all booed up, but just simply saying, hey, what kind of fatherly figures do I have here around me in my circle that can really give good values to my children? And there's many out there. Not all of them are famous, not all of them are super rich. Some are just regular old guys, just like Myron's dad came from a high paying job to become a janitor just to provide for his boys. So there are many men out there that are actually trying to do the best they can for society. You just sometimes got to take a step back and look around. And so, like I said, I can't stress enough for me, as I'm doing this thing, as a father is so important. Even for my kids, like my daughter, I'm a part of this program where fatherhood, like fathers being involved in their kids' education early on, like early education, early child development, is pretty much minimal to lacking. And it's kind of sad for me because, like, seeing the importance of me being involved in my kids' education, I can see the benefit. But then when I look around, like the city or just seeing around society, you don't see fathers being engaged as much. I think I've been seeing an increase in that with like social media, with TikTok and Instagram and all that. But for the most part, it's lacking. So I think it's a time. It's time for fathers to come back into their roles. It's time for fathers to stand up and do what they've been called to do and been born to do and actually been pretty much created to do in this earth. So that's just my little last 2 cents there. My little rant.
Absolutely, man. Like I said, yeah. Go ahead, Steven.
Yeah, I think it comes down. So why excuse me. Why is you said what is the issue, or what is the problem, or what was the question again?
Fatherhood is under attack.
Fatherhood is under attack. Okay, there it is. Okay, I think it comes down to mainly the foundation of who humans are and what a man is. And the reality is, like, I mean, we like to think that life is all nice and happy, and we're all just it's like some kind of game or sport where we're all trying to do the best we can do. But the reality is, inside of this game, there is an enemy, and it's not another player even. Like there is someone seeking to destroy. Like, and his hope is that as many people lose as possible. So there is another aspect to this. In essence, in this race, there's a bunch of lions that are let loose, a bunch of bulls that are also running with us, and they're going to trample us and chew us up and poke us up, like this is the reality of our situation. And so I think one thing that happens is when a father is someone who should be giving a singular clear vision of what to be like, not saying they're going to dictate exactly what you do, but even just the core of your identity, then the simplest way is when you take away that single vision. Or actually, the problem is I don't see even that fathers are being attacked necessarily. Fatherhood is being attacked, but the way it's being attacked is not to take every father out of the house and shoot them or something, but it's rather it is bringing other visions and other perspectives and other ideas and identities. And so I once heard that, like, it's not that Satan comes to take away your vision; he just gives you 1,000 more, so that you're confused of which way you should actually go. And I think that's really, a big part of it, because once you don't have a singularity or clarity of vision or focus, then everything is it's all gone. And then, of course, people are just going to be going astray left and right. So I think that's really a big part of it, and the reality that there is an enemy in this game, and it's not just another player. Not that we're competing with other people, because actually in this game of life, it's best when we are supporting each other and pushing each other forward. And that's the interesting thing I also see. Like even in culture, we are somehow encouraging people to pursue whatever, anything. And like you said about the other thing, it's like, no, sometimes there needs to be someone to say, hey, bro, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Like what are really your chances of getting to the NFL without getting an injury that's going to end your career? Why don't you get your education? But today it's like, oh no, don't discourage him. Let him chase his dreams. How are you going to tell him what's going to happen? Why are you such a naysayer? Why are you such a hater or doubter? And it's like, no, we need that groundedness and that reality. But if we're just letting everybody float on air, yo, nothing's gonna stand. Like everything's gonna fall down, the whole house. So
I like the impersonation. That was perfect.
Yeah, you hit it, man. Float on air is the new fatherhood. It's float on air. Go do what you want to do. Chase your dreams. You got it. And excuse me. And you're right. That is not that's not it. But the Bible talks about this in the end days. People will be, they would chase their own desires, and they're gonna be people to feed them. Oh, there's all these camps. Oh, they go to this camp. They go to this AU camp, and they join this team. Or they're gonna be set up for life. And these parents are investing thousands of dollars a year to travel with these kids across the nation, and then only 5% of them ever make it to the NFL. It is like all these parents that spent all these millions of dollars, literally only 5% made it. And what do you tell those kids now? And what happens? Those kids grow up with dreams that they call deferred dreams. But oh well, maybe I'll get in. But now they're trying to push their kids to do it because I didn't do it. So now I'm gonna get you to do it. So you got all of these trainers who are the ones who weren't good enough to make it, but now they're going to force their kids at 5 years old to practice like Tiger Woods style. You go make this thing. You go get in, and it's just unfortunate. There's only one Tiger Woods. There is no Tiger Woods 2, 3, 4, 5. Like people don't understand. There's only one Serena and Venus. There was nobody to follow them after they're in their 40s and 50s now. What happens is so small and so minute that it's like, well, they're going to grow up to be Simone Biles. There's only one Simone Biles. There's only one Mike Vick. There's only one XYZ, right? So it's just like, yeah, it's unfortunate, to hear that. But if you talk about, people in construction, there's 1,000,000,001 people doing construction work that are making good living, good lives. There's 1,000,000,001 engineers that that are in California right now making $300,000 straight out of college. But nobody talks about that. There's 1,000,000,001 pilots who are in their 30 years old making $400,000 and they fly 2 times a week. So if it's money that we're after, there's more than one way to get money to go through these sports channels, right? And I think a lot of people is money's becoming such a big thing now, especially we talk about inflation, the way the world is going. We're talking about a recession in a year or so in the United States. It's worldwide. It's just a lot of stuff going on. We're printing money faster than people are using it, and people are just. It's just crazy, man. It's about to get even crazy. And we'll save this conversation for another day because I'm getting off topic. But back to fatherhood. You hit it on the nail, man. If there's nobody to be that God line, we're floating on air. And I'm afraid to tell you, as aerodynamics, nothing floats on air. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Let the rocket scientists do, guys.
I'm afraid to break it to you that there's nothing. So we got to get back to the principles. We got to get back to the basics of what a man is supposed to, what a father is supposed to be to the family. And when we have the structures of fathers in families without this whole float on air mentality, man, I think we can really do some damage to really rectify the issues that we have in not only our community but every community. I really believe.
You know what's interesting? I really feel like I have to bring this up. So Black Lives Matters, the organization. I mean the actual official institution. When you go on their website,
Go ahead. I'm gonna let you go. Go ahead.
Okay, let me just explain what I saw and I read and heard. It has nothing to do with Black people.
It doesn't. You're absolutely right.
Their actual mission statement. It is basically the core of their purpose is to reorganize the traditional. It is to deconstruct the traditional Western values of what a family is, and namely to do away with the need, the understanding that we need to have fathers.
Yes,
and I find it very interesting because from what I hear about people who are doing protests, even there was. So our community, those who were doing protests, they were also often upset because there were other people in the protests who were living alternative lifestyles, and they thought like they're distracting from what we want to say. But they're all actually there from what they believe is Black Lives Matter's message, because it was not about Black people at all, but rather it was about removing the values that we currently have of what a family is, and especially a father being the leader of a family. And the reason partly being, I think, because the founders, if you want, later maybe I can bring up the names and go onto the website and show you yourself. But we don't have to. But for anyone who wants to look, you can just look at the blacklivesmatters.org website. But the founders themselves, they grew up without fathers in their homes, and so they came with the understanding: we have formed something, we became something. So they deduced nobody needs a father. If we can do it, nobody has to have a father to be able to accomplish things in life, or to be successful, or to be well. And yeah, I found that very interesting because there was a lot of confusion and chaos, and even later controversy about the founders of the organization and whether or not they actually benefited the Black community, or they just took advantage of the wealth that was built up. But I just found that so interesting because that was such a big deal, and what we thought it was actually totally different. And I'm not sure if it hurt or even maybe harmed the community that believed it was for them. So I just wanted to bring that in because I thought that was really interesting as I learned that in the past couple of years. What do you guys think about that?
Well, you hit it on the nail, man. A lot of people, you know, what was going on at the time as a Black man, speaking for myself, was hurtful, man. Like, it was growing up in Little Rock. I mean, shoot, how many times have we all three of us had interactions with cops where it was just like, dude, are we gonna make it out of this thing? Like, yo, like, don't breathe, like, don't move,
yeah,
hands up. You know, I mean, all three of us have been pulled over together multiple times. I mean, sometimes for doing stuff crazy, sometimes just for being a human, you know. And it's like, you know, but we've had those interactions. The thing is, the Black Lives Matter came about when there was a lot of police brutality on the Black community that was being exposed through the media. Because it's not every day there's a bunch of it, but it was being exposed. It was actually on camera, on footage, and we weren't getting what we consider justice. And so people were looking for a means to get together to go out and show people, like, yo, man, like, yo, we're humans, like we're alive. And so this Black Lives Matters came out with the fist, and it was like, oh, yo, let's go with Black Lives Matter. But like, as you say, a real man of discernment is going to go to the web. Literally, it's Google. You can Google everything right now.
Yeah.
I did the same thing. I Googled it, and I was like, hold up, what? I was like, what? This ain't got nothing to do with us. I was like, what are people talking about Black Lives Matter? The term Black Lives Matter, yes, Black Lives Matter, but the organization Black Lives Matter had nothing to do with Black lives. It was a complete agenda that the media is pushing even right now. That's completely against fatherhood. Like, it's just 100% against fatherhood. And you have to read between the lines to get it. But like you say, people were going to the protest and they're like, wait, what is this person doing here? Like, oh, they're trying to intervene in our protest. But no, if you didn't know what Black Lives Matter, the organization, stood for, you wouldn't understand why they were there. And so those people were there because they were a part of the organization, not because Black Lives Matter. And so it's a lot of stuff you have to read in between the lines to really understand. But our people perish for the lack of what?
Knowledge.
Nobody. I told you guys this, and I'll say it again. When I was, I do a lot of public speaking, and this Caucasian kid, kindergarten, came up to me and said, "Mr. Fletcher, you know, you're so smart." He said, "How did you get so smart? My dad always told me if you wanted to hide something from a Black man, put it in a book." And I said, "What in the world?" The eyes blew up, and I was like, "Whoa!" And this is a kindergartner, 5-year-old, telling me, "My dad has taught me if you don't want a Black man to know about it, put it in a book." And I'm like, "Oh my God!" But then I started to think, how many of my brothers read books? None of them. I was like, I don't know. I can count on my hand how many people I know that read books that are Black. And I was like, yo. So I started reading books.
Yeah.
I started reading books. But no, because of that, like, I started questioning everything. But that's just me. I'm the type, I'm going to question everything twice. And I'm going to reflect. Even if I know it's right, I'm going to go back and question it because I want to make sure that it's right. You know, and a lot of people don't. We were so angry and mad at the time, Stephen, in the States, that people were like, yo, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. And they were going to these, you know, they're printing their own shirts, BLM, and they're out there protesting with these organizations that had nothing to do with the true desire of the Black community. But like you say, if anybody wants to do a deep dive on Black Lives Matter, we will. It's a simple Google search. You can Google it yourself. You can go look and see. There's a lot of people who come to light. And what we say, what happens in dark comes to light. Eventually, all of that stuff came up. And people are like, wait a minute. maybe I'm not a Black Lives Matter representative. Like, wait, and it's not like I say, it sucks to say that, but it's the organization, not the term. The term Black Lives Matter is a legitimate term. It's the organization BLM that's like, like we ain't rocking with y'all. Sorry. But that, like I say, that's just because I did my own research and I was like, this is why these guys at they're waving rainbow flags at the BLM. Like, what's going on here? Like, what did this have to do? No, literally, that's why I was like, what?
Yeah,
like, what's going on? But then you read the agenda and it's like, I got it. Okay, I see where we're going. So yeah, I digress. But yeah.
So if we want to put it in a summary, Black Lives Matter was a part of an open political and social attack on fathers. Whoa. Yeah.
Yes. I agree 100%.
Who would have thunk it?
Yeah. But like I say, we without the discernment, without the understanding, this is what we're leading people. You know, a regular man, go join the Black Lives Matter movement, man. Go out there and support your people. And you're supporting not having a father. like that's literally what you're supporting. And it's crazy to think about it in its essence, but that's the reality of what we were just dealing with. So yeah.
I mean, that runs deep though. The whole I want to leave that. That's
like I say, bro.
We iceberg, and that's not even just the tip. That's just like a little flake that dropped off. There's a deep iceberg of politics and society and how this had an impact on our community.
Yeah.
But, that's another one. That's another podcast. Another video.
Yeah, I better start deep diving into some of these topics. we can mine later, but we just trying to get we got a site plan. We just doing a site visit right now.
Fatherhood.
A site visit on fatherhood, and then we can start deep diving and doing the urban planning on it. But like I said, you guys hit on a lot of good stuff. I mean, it goes back to what I said earlier. The topic itself, just how deep and meaty it is really thick. And I think that we haven't done ourselves enough justice. One as males, even as a society, just to showcase how important it is. And I kind of give some kudos. My church I'm recently part of that we've been going with for a couple of years, we did a study on just the importance of fatherhood into the home. And with it just helped to reset some values, right? What's important? Like, what are you doing as a father to bring value to your children, to your spouse, to your wife? And then the key of the study was great because it was like, it wasn't focusing on, hey, what is going bad in my life? What is not going the way I want it? It's what are you doing in your life? What are you doing on the day-to-day? How are you disciplining yourself, to maintain that vision? What are you doing to even have a vision or create a vision? The Bible talks about making a vision and writing it plain. Where's your vision at? What do you have on a spreadsheet somewhere? Do you have it on the board? Say, you know what, Father, these things has been on my heart and we're pursuing these things. And most people will tell you they don't have it. And I think me and Mike, we talked about, for example, finances, right? I see me recently, we just started doing a budget. And I found out the importance of a budget was able to help us, as my family have, is give us a vision. So financially, we now have a vision of, hey, this is what we want to do. This is where we are. And now we have these goals that we're trying to attain. So I think that the word vision, right, it all ties back to the importance of fatherhood, having that vision. So for those who are watching, there are fathers, even soon to be fathers, God bless you guys. But begin to start thinking, what do you want to see for your children? What would you imagine, if you were 20 years from now, how would you want your children to be interacting? How would you want someone else to come and talk about your children when they interact them? You know what I mean? And I think that when you begin to start thinking ahead and seeing what you're doing now, it makes all these little political things now so much more important to be looking for. So now you begin to see, you can kind of read between the lines a little bit more. Man, what is society talking about? What is this organization, Black Lives Matters? Is it really saying Black Lives Matter? Is it really saying that these other things matter? So what is really the heart of the issue? What is really being discussed and talked about that at least that great vision and great discernment, which, most people don't have anymore because they kind of just throw common sense out the window nowadays because the media said it was this way, so it must be true. And nobody does that deep dive. Nobody does that. Hey, a simple Google search, right? What is this people about? And I don't know. This is good. This is good stuff. And I think we can probably keep this going for a few weeks, but with many other ideations about it. But yeah, you guys hit a lot on the head, and I love politics and I love talking about it. But of course, people are gonna have their different views and opinions. I want people to know, look, it's okay to disagree. Disagree doesn't mean that we hate or doesn't mean that we think of you any less. It's just we're human beings. We're all three different individuals. We're gonna see differently. We're gonna think differently. Heck, I think we all eat differently. But at the end of the day, we're all working together. You know what I mean? We're all working together for a common vision, common goal, raising our children to godly standards. having our vision, pursuing our family to ensure that one day when we look back, Father God, you entrusted me with these gifts. The Bible talks about children being a quiver of arrows. Well, Father God, I have sharpened these arrows. I have took care of these arrows, and this is my target, and that's where the target is, and that's where we're going. And guess what, Father God, by your grace and mercy, they hit the target. Or at least they got somewhere close, right? you can only try. So yeah, good stuff.
Cool.
That's very good though, because one thing I shot bow a couple times, and your eye, the direction of your eye, sometimes your eye might be a little bit crooked even, but there comes a certain point where shooting an arrow, it goes beyond just your eye, and it's your heart. Like literally, your soul is like projecting into your target in a certain way. And I think what you said is very important, and when it comes to like discerning and understanding what is right and wrong, and being able to filter that and to give right direction, I think that is a really strong analogy. That it's like an arrow in your hand. Your children are like arrows in your hand. Like it's so much more than just the strength of your arm.
Right.
You can have the biggest bicep and can't shoot an arrow for nothing. But it is. Yeah, but your soul have a very clear orientation of where it's going, and that's really I think that's very good.
Well, fellas, I think we talked about a lot. It's a lot for the elevator talk people to digest. I think that's a clear wrap for episode 1. Sure, and I mean we'll tag up again, and we'll spit it out again, and just another topic, and and we'll post the video. Hopefully get some feedback and go from there, man. But hey, appreciate you guys for your time. It's officially 12 o'clock. No, what is it? 1 o'clock where you are, Clarence, or 12?
I'm 11:10 right now.
It's 11. It's 11:10 there. It's 7:10 p.m. in Germany, and it's 7:10 p.m. here in Hawaii.
AM.
AM. 7:10 a.m. If it's p.m., I'm in trouble. I didn't miss the whole day. But hey, appreciate you guys. Thank you for your time. And hey, have a blessed rest of the day, Elevator Talk people. Thank you guys for joining in. If you guys want us to talk about any other topics, definitely feel free to comment on the video. If there's anything you guys would like to see in our conversations, or if he wants to go deeper into our backgrounds, definitely pitch in, and we'll definitely do so. So thank you guys. Continue to elevate your mind, and I'll pass the ball over to you guys to close it out. If there's anything else you want to say to the audience.
Yeah, no, I think that's it. I think for this one, I really think we got a lot more to share about fatherhood. I really feel good about this topic, but we just wish you guys, that we can all walk together in peace, that we can all really have understanding and wisdom of what it means to live in the times that we're living in, because we're living in a world that is different than our fathers lived in. And it's really important, and we're really thankful. I'm really thankful to be a part of this, and to see, where this thing is going to lead. But yeah, we really want to see a generation together of strong fathers and strong men and strong people who know what to do with us right. So I'm really happy about this elevator talk. Let's go up together. Ding.
Hey, you got anything, Clint?
No, I'm good. I'm running the elevator. I'm good.
Just ride.
All right, Elevator Talk episode 1 cut.